It's an E30 M3 Ute. It's tight. Welcome back. At the end of the last video, we got the engine in and it's tilting forward. So at the start of this one, we've got to take the engine out, get the clutch and gearbox set up, and then get it back in. All right, we've got the engine out. This is the flywheel and clutch that I got with the car. It's a dual mass and it is probably toast. You can see a lot of hot spots on there. I think this has been ground once before and you shouldn't really grind back on the dual mass. They've only done the friction disc surface. When machining down or grinding down a flywheel, this tolerance between this face and this face is pretty crucial. You should be grinding down both faces. So that means removing the dowels, grinding the first face to the point that it's clean, and then grinding the second face to make sure that you've got that step down the right distance. I am going to reuse this flywheel and pressure plate and all of that for now, just so we can get the car all mocked up, get it running. So this is going to be driven on again, but not for any long periods of time. The goal is to get it built, all working, make sure everything's working together and it's all good, take it out, and then I'll probably convert to a single mass flywheel, chromoly, so the engine will be able to rev a little bit higher, a little less comfort, but I mean, it's an E30 M3 Ute. Let's get all of this bolted up, chuck the gearbox on, drop it in, good. You'll notice the flywheel's off again. Keen observers would have noticed I was missing something. So this goes right there. So now I can put it back on and then do the clutch. Got my aligning tool, put that bad boy on, pressure plate on the dowels. All right, I've given everything a clean inside and out. I've re-greased the pivot point and put grease where the slave cylinder is, and then re-greased where the... What bearing is that? I should know this. I worked at like a clutch place for 2 years. The bearing in there is the pilot bearing. What bearing is this again? Thrust bearing! Damn it. My only concern is this D-shackle interfering with this bolt hole. But let's see if I can get it on there and bolt her up. This feels like it's going to do wonders for my back. Sometimes it's just easier to do things without the camera on you. I struggled for a couple of seconds with the camera, went and thought about it for a couple of minutes, and I mean, got it on fairly quickly. So that is all bolted up. They finally meet again. Now the next step is getting this much larger, more inconvenient item back in. That was an effort, but we're in. Normally you would try and remove or insert the engine from underneath in an E30. And this is no different, but I just don't have the facilities to chuck it up in a hoist, lower the engine down, lower the chassis down onto the engine, and then bolt it up. When it comes to the final assembly, I'm going to have to do it that way because I'll destroy all of my nice paint in there. But I'll get this in and then tighten everything up, and we've got an engine in the car with a gearbox and a clutch, which is kind of useful for the engine. I'm pooped. We're in. We don't have anything supporting the engine from the front, and we can take a look under here. There's the support brace holding the gearbox up. So that means we could now drop the car down. Before I do that, I'm just going to get the linkage on, just in case I need to move that bit down there. When I've got it on the ground, I had a comment on one of my previous videos about how some of the fenders are different. So these are standard M3 fenders, and there is a difference between the Evo 3 fenders and the standard fenders. Luckily enough, I believe I have a set of Evo 3 fenders here. So I'll give them a go and see if the position of the wheel is in the middle of the fender. This is the one that I was using temporarily. This is the one that I was hoping to use on the car, thinking that this was a little bit shorter, and top end, it's really rubbing against the boot. It's really tight given the distance. I had this one staked professionally by a local guy, Mike from Mtech Engineers. I've just given him a call up and said, hey, I think it's still too long. Can you make me one up? I'm going to take one of these down to him, or at least just the knuckles down to him, and then get him to make me up a custom center, because these are just too long and it's not going to work. Since we can't do the linkage, I think we just drop it down and try the Evo 3 fenders. I'm not completely sure what spec this fender is, but let's see what it looks like. That looks pretty good. I think I'm happy with that, but that is with the blocks that I've had machined up. You can see them just shiny under there. That's pretty good. I've got some different control arms in there to see if I could get the geometry right, but it has just pushed the wheel out way too far. So I'll swap back to the E30 control arms and see if that makes a difference, but that does look like it's way closer to the center. I thought I'd just put the other one back on, and there is a bit of a difference between where the rear of the fender meets the wheel. This doesn't look too bad anymore, and these have way more coverage on the wheel. That's a huge difference. I don't think I can use them. This is way wider. I can work with that. All right, well, I mean, that kind of answers the question, because I don't think we're going to get enough coverage on the wheel using the Jap spec Evo 3. But I have the answer. All right, I drove out to my steering engineer, showed him the issue. Basically, this is too long and it's rubbing on that rubber boot that I installed for the firewall. Normally there's some nylon around these. They line up with these two marks, and there's an injection molded plastic inside. And then if you're in an accident, they shear off and that closes. Because we've got the collapsible column in the E46 column, we don't necessarily need that collapsing mechanism. So he's just hit them apart, removed that plastic. Now I can cut, say, 20 mil off here, get this even closer, and then we can just cut off the other side. And then once I get the correct distance, he's going to put a pin straight through, and that'll stop any vibrations and it'll hold it all together. So first step, cut this. That's 15 mil shorter. Should make it considerably easier to get this on now. We now have clearance from the knuckle to the rubber boot, and our angle isn't too much. I've dropped the steering linkage back off to the engineer so he can pin it, and then we have our steering linkage sorted. In the meantime, I'm just going to bolt these headers up. These are equal length headers made for the S50 to go around a purple tag in an E30. These were made by Mtech, so they're excellent quality, and I know they're going to fit. I know putting these in could make it difficult to do the steering linkage, but I just want to keep things moving, so let's just bolt them in. I'm definitely going to have to lift this side of the engine up to get either of these in. I think I can get these both in at the same time with the engine sitting the way it is. It's either one or the other. What did I learn? Don't try and put headers in 20 minutes before you have to go to work. I gotta go to work. This has been 3 days. Drive it down there, come up with the solution, come back up, measure it, drive it back down there, modify it. So, my engineer drilled a hole, welded it together, and then he's drilled another hole through, put a bolt through, and then squashed it. Like, it ain't going anywhere. Then pick it up, and now we install it. I don't think I could have gotten the headers in with this in, so this is still done in kind of the correct sequence. This is going to be difficult to get in now with the headers in. Difficult is better than impossible. Let's get this on, and then as you saw in the last video where I had to rush off to work, we can then bolt up the headers. Can we? Can we get this on? It's tight. And it's fouling. I may need to undo the bolts that are holding the steering column in, shift the steering column out, attach this, and then get the steering column back into position. I can't film in there, so bear with me, I'll do it, and then I'll show you. It is tight in there. Now, I haven't finished bolting up the headers, so they will have a little bit of movement, but can you see in there? Let me see if I can get the shot. Let's get that out of the way. It is tight. Let's bolt the headers up and hope that nothing's fouling in there. It hits! No! All right, that is the headers in. That is the steering linkage attached, and it is fouling just slightly on this one. So I'm gonna need to either try and just manipulate that one tube out, or I haven't completely worked out what I'm gonna do with that yet. The next step is, I picked the seats up yesterday and they're all functioning. So these side controllers, they work. Everything is controlled by this box. Now I'm going to get both the seats in and sit in them and explain what this box does and who I got to do it. The boxes that control these are just a prototype. They are something that I'll be selling in the future, and we do have another set. So if you're in South Australia or if you're in South Australia and you want to do this modification, can you please let me know? Because we can sell it to you at the cost price, we can help with all of the installation, and we just need help with the troubleshooting. If a fault comes up, we sort it out, and you have F80 seats, F82 seats in your E30. All right, now comes the explanation of what the box does and why it was far more complicated than just running power to each motor and going, yep, done, all sorted. So on this control panel, there are 4 wires. One is only a feed wire, and that leaves 3 control wires. You've got 4 motors, 2 directions each motor, 8 different options running off of those 3 wires. Depending on the polarity that you're sending down each control wire and then the return wire, determines what each motor is going to be doing. The box that's mounted under the seat is the translator. It interprets what each wire is doing and what it's saying, and then controls the motor for each function. So you've got 4 functions. You've got the base rail, back and forward. You've got the tilt function, you've got a height adjustment, and then you've got a tilt function. So you can tilt the seat back and forward, you can raise it up and down, you can move it in and out, you can tilt the rest back and forward. Then there are the other 2 functions of lumbar support and the side bolsters moving in and out. So there's heaps of functionality going on from this control switch that all needs to be interpreted into one box. So inside this box, there's a little Arduino controller that gets all of the signals, sends it all to the correct motor in which direction you're moving it, and then you have to add limit switches in for everything, because if you send this motor forward, it just stops. Instead of just continuously sending the message to the motor and burning out the motor. That's how you get a car fire. Let me just send this back because that is really close to the wheel. How good is that? Okay, so there. So with all of that, it'll never be a plug and play box just because of the nature of how the seats were wired up from factory. But it is something that we will continue to develop and then get out as a product. In saying that, when these control units were getting made up, we made 2 of them, 2 sets of them. So we do have another spare set. If you're in preferably South Australia, maybe Victoria, and you're wanting to do this modification to your E30, or even any car for that matter, E46, E36, the controllers are going to be the same. I don't know the mounting positions for the E36 or E46, but we can wire them up, we can get them in your car, but we will need a hand troubleshooting. This isn't the perfect solution yet. There's heaps of lines of code, and I know almost nothing about coding except that there are always bugs. So we need to work out the bugs and then we can get them into more cars. There is also the issue that these seats in Australia are Euro spec. We don't know if the American ones have the exact same colored wires, are set up the exact same way. We also don't know if if the base model seats are the same as the competition seats. So again, if you're in South Australia and you have some of these different variations in a seat that isn't in a car, shoot me a message over Facebook or Instagram, and we can see if we can work this out and make this a really solid product that can then be shipped out and people can have really comfortable, fully functioning electric seats in an E30. Whew, word dump. Woo. Now that you've gotten through all of that, we're going to do the steering wheel giveaway. So in the last 2 or 3 episodes, I've been saying I'm going to give a Mtech 2 385mm steering away to one of my Patreons. I only have 12 Patreons. One's my mum, one's my partner. So the people who are entered have a 1 in 10 chance of getting a steering wheel. Nice. So over to you, Officer Lewis, to do the draw. Thank you very much, Workshop Lewis. Been doing a pretty good job recently. So I've got the names loaded up. There's only 9 entries, so one of them is getting the steering wheel either way. Let's see who gets the wheel. I didn't realize my phone died while I was filming it. Daniel Y, you won. I've already messaged them on Patreon, so we'll wait for a response. Now, there's the Patreon giveaway. We're sitting at 5,000 subs now, so we're gonna do another t-shirt giveaway. This is for YouTube subscribers, so make sure you subscribe. I'll send this anywhere in the world. If you start the comment with... if you start the comment with Pip, which is the name of this cat, you'll go into the running for a t-shirt. Back to you, Workshop Lewis. Good work, mate. I think we've been doing a pretty good job recently, and I'm really happy with the progress that we've had. I think that's enough talking. It has been a big episode. We've gotten so much done, and we've got heaps more to do in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to all of my Patreons. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.